Hunter Biden now facing 9 new federal criminal charges as investigators say he avoided paying $1.4 million in taxes, instead spending that money on things like drugs, escorts, pornography, and luxury hotels.
Now, if we look at the indictment, this alleges a scheme covering 4 years, 2016 through and including 2019. The allegation is that during that time, Hunter Biden made around $7 million in income, primarily from foreign companies in Ukraine and China. Doesn't allege that those were bribes, does not allege Hunter Biden was engaged in illegal influence peddling as a lobbyist, but makes clear he did not do actual work meriting $7 million worth of income. Now, the indictment lays out in detail the way Hunter Biden would allegedly commit this fraud. For example, he took false business deductions. The indictment alleges, as one example, that in 2018, he claimed he had $388,000 worth of business travel. But in fact, the allegation is he was doing no business, no real work. So he writes that off. And that's a fraud. The indictment also details lavish personal spending by Hunter Biden, $4.8 million worth of money that the government says he could have easily paid back. Instead, he used on personal expenses ranging from cars and clothes to, quote unquote, adult entertainment.
And there are also new legal problems for the current president's son, Hunter Biden, now facing 9 new federal criminal charges. He's accused of failing to pay at least $1.4 million in taxes from 2016 through 2019. Instead, prosecutors say he spent millions on, quote, drugs, escorts, luxury hotels, and exotic cars. In short, everything but his taxes.
And it goes into great detail about all of the things that Hunter Biden was spending his money on instead of paying his taxes. And they are saying things like he's spending almost $700,000 toward women. That includes exotic dancers, people who are escorts, clothing and accessories, adult entertainment, pornography website, $27,000 in 2018 alone. I'm going to come back to that in a second. The other thing here is that with these, they are saying that he had the money to pay. He had $7 million coming in all of the businesses interests that he had. And then instead of putting it toward the IRS or telling the IRS, it was going towards an extravagant lifestyle. And that's where one of these felony charges comes really into play, where the IRS or the Justice Department is saying that Hunter Biden is claiming false deductions, including a $10,000 payment for his membership in a sex club, among many other things, renting a Lamborghini, paying hundreds of or tens of thousands of dollars to luxury hotels. He's claiming those things are business expenses when the Justice Department says, no, those were personal expenses. One of those things particularly was this. He claimed this as a business expense, according to the Justice Department, and instead put $27,000 into online porn.
All right, John, this morning we're standing by to see President Biden for the first time since his son Hunter Biden was accused of a 4-year tax evasion scheme that alleges he spent millions of dollars on things like drugs, escorts, and exotic cars instead of paying his taxes. The indictment then listing his alleged expenses, including nearly $700,000 for payments to various women, $188,000 for adult entertainment, $71,000 on rehab, ultimately a grand total of $4.9 million.
Here's a quote from the prosecutors in the 56-page indictment yesterday. Between 2016 and October 15th, 2020, the defendant spent this money on drugs, escorts, and girlfriends, luxury hotels and rental properties, exotic cars, clothing, and other items of a personal nature. In short, everything but his taxes. It's $1,500 that he Venmo'd to an exotic dancer, saying it was for artwork. That exotic dancer, the prosecutors note, was not providing Hunter Biden artwork. $11,000 for 2 nights with an escort, $40,000 for a luxury hotel, a Lamborghini rental, and then $27,000 that Hunter Biden put on a business credit line to pay for online porn. The prosecutors note that was a fifth of all of the business expenditures on that account. That's a personal expense, they say.
Will he answer questions about his son? President Biden due to leave the White House shortly. His first chance to comment on the new federal tax charges against Hunter Biden, an indictment with salacious new details. All right, those are live pictures of the White House where shortly could be the first chance to hear from President Biden since his son was charged with new counts of federal tax evasion. Charges that come with a litany of new salacious details. The president is leaving to campaign in Nevada. We are watching to see if he stops to comment on the way to the helicopter.
Now, this is from the indictment. I'll read it for you. It says between 2016 and October 15th, 2020, the defendant spent his money on drugs, escorts and girlfriends, luxury hotels and rental properties, exotic cars, clothing, and other items of a personal nature. In short, everything but his taxes and of his company. When he withdrew millions of dollars, they say it was all to subsidize his extravagant lifestyle. It included nearly $700,000 in payments to various women, nearly $200,000 in adult entertainment, and about $70,000 in rehab, among other things.
Hunter, of course, now accused of a 4-year tax evasion scheme that alleges he spent millions of dollars on things including drugs, escorts, exotic cars, instead of paying his taxes. The president did not answer those shouted questions so far. We're waiting to see if he addresses them at Joint Base Andrews as he gets ready to depart on a campaign trip. Despite having access to funds, the indictment lists his alleged expenses, things he did use his funds on, nearly $700,000 for payments to various women, nearly $200,000 for adult entertainment, $71,000 for rehab. Ultimately, a grand total of $4.9 billion. In
2018, that's when Hunter Biden, in his memoir, talked about being a drug addict and where a lot of these expenses really became quite outlandish. A Lamborghini rental, luxury hotels, all kinds of things that he was doing that really, when taken together, are quite shocking. And just to highlight one of how in-depth this is, one of the pieces, $27,000 is a business deduction that he wrote down. Prosecutors say that was spent on online porn, $27,000 on online porn in 2018 from this business account that he paid it out of. That was 20% of all of the expenditures in that business account.
All right. Wow. On that. And again, event, these are the places where occasionally reporters, members of the White House pool, can get questions to the President of the United States. Sometimes presidents, including President Biden, choose to answer them. Plenty of times they don't.
Mr. President! Mr. President, your reaction!
All right, that's a hard pass from the President of the United States, Joe Biden. A hard pass on answering questions. The reporters, as far as we could tell, didn't even get to the question.
Today on Inside Politics, Hunter Biden indicted again. Sex clubs, escorts, a rented Lamborghini. That's what prosecutors say the president's son spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on instead of paying his taxes. Underscore, it's clear what he means is trying to get me back on drugs to the point where I will, sort of destroy myself, and then that will do the same to my father.
The one way in which they would be able to certainly just undermine my dad's confidence and ability to continue to campaign and move forward, particularly after the death of my brother, to think that he could lose his son that he just had regained from an almost death through addiction.
The 56-page indictment says that between 2016 and October 15th of 2020, Hunter Biden, quote, spent this money on drugs, escorts and girlfriends, luxury hotels and rental properties, exotic cars, clothing, and other items of a personal nature. In short, everything but his taxes.
And in this 56-page indictment, prosecutors included a lot of embarrassing details about what they say he spent his money on instead of paying his taxes on time. That includes hundreds of thousands of dollars to various women, nearly $200,000 on adult entertainment, as well as tens of thousands of dollars on drugs and rehab.
Hunter Biden indicted again. The president's son now facing 9 charges, including failure to file and pay taxes. Prosecutors allege he engaged in a 4-year scheme to spend his money on drugs, exotic cars, luxury hotels, quote, everything but his taxes. And even when he did pay 1 year, prosecutors say he used false business deductions. This is Hunter Biden's second indictment since his plea agreement with federal prosecutors fell apart in July.
We're talking about, $2,700 paid on in pornography, $188 $600,000 that they counted used on adult entertainment, things that they say instead he could have been doing to make, have his business pay its taxes that were due.
Yeah, they go to great lengths to be extremely specific and really kind of embarrass Hunter Biden in a lot of ways by detailing what it was he was spending his money on during this time. They say he was spending it on, quote, drugs, escorts and girlfriends, luxury hotels and rental properties, exotic cars, clothing, and other items of a personal nature. In short, everything but his taxes. You can see he spent $600,000 on various women, hundreds of thousands of dollars on adult entertainment, and tens of thousands of dollars on rehab for drug and alcohol.
The younger Biden stands accused of engaging in a 4-year scheme to avoid paying at least $1.4 million in taxes on income and instead funding a lavish lifestyle of drugs and escorts, including spending nearly $700,000 on payments to, quote, various women and nearly $200,000 on adult entertainment between 2016 and 2019.